Hey guys, welcome back, and this is the second edition of the Ringside Report. Seemed a lot of you kind of like the first one, so we'll keep this going for a little while and see if it gets some legs and takes off. I'd really like to do is hopefully have some of you live with the broadcast stream. It'll always be a live broadcast stream. Giving your feedback, your opinions, your thoughts on whatever the subject may be. And this week it is, has technology killed professional wrestling? And I say absolutely. And I will make my case. Feel free to offer any opinions either for or against. If you can't watch it live, you can catch it on the replays and just leave comments below. And I respond to pretty much all of them if I can. So what got me thinking about this, let me queue up a couple matches just so we have some entertainment for the background here. Give me 1 second, we're going to go old school here, of course we are. Keep forgetting we can skip ahead now, gotta get used to that. And I am picking these two guys for a very specific reason. Go Philadelphia, what the heck. So more and more when Monday Night Raw airs and SmackDown airs, I have a really hard time. First off, I don't watch them. I record them, then I'll watch them back later on. But for the most part, I watch them back and fast forward. It's very rare that I actually stop. I don't watch the matches hardly at all because, I don't know, there's just nothing about it anymore that holds my interest. Up until recently, NXT was the exception. I could still watch NXT much like I watched ECW. But now that Bayley's class has moved on, it's lost something for me. I'm not into the cruiserweights, never have been. It's not my thing. And I'll admit, I haven't even... I sat through Toronto TakeOver, was not impressed at all. The first time I've thought that a TakeOver show didn't clearly outperform the main roster pay-per-view the next day. And I just thought the Toronto show was kind of flat. Now, I'll say the audience wasn't exactly hot either, so that probably plays a role. But to the point of technology, and the reason I've got this match here that's going to play through... I should have played at random. Oh well. Watching an old match on YouTube the other night between, what was it? Putski and Tito Santana against the Wild Samoans. And Putski and Santana were the tag team champions. Madison Square Garden. It's there if you put in those four, Wild Samoans versus Putski and Santana. You'll get it. They sold everything so much better than they do today. Now, when we get to the technology part, this is where we're going to... I don't know how to even say it. Look, the internet came out back in the late 80s, early 90s, took off. And that's when the dirt sheets started having real-time reports. And that's when some backstage people may or may not have leaked certain information out there. And you started getting the gossips going, and you started getting the behind-the-scenes knowledge. We already, of course, by that time knew that matches were predetermined and all that, but it still had some of the aura left to it. And I think the internet really stripped that away, broke it down to the point where that did not exist anymore. And you were literally just watching theater at that point. Not that there isn't something to be said for that. You look at places like Cirque du Soleil, they make a fortune. Blue Man Group make a fortune off of just putting on really strong theatric talent. And in this situation, you do have a Cirque du Soleil type thing. You've got these incredible athletes, physical specimens that do all sorts of insane things to their bodies at our entertainment, or for our entertainment. That said, when you lose the element of reality, and there was some. I mean, obviously back in the 70s and 80s, I think the majority of us realized that if I was stomping on somebody's head while they were on the mat or on the concrete floor, they'd be dead. So we were willing to believe that, you know, they pulled those punches, but then some of the other stuff in the ring, closed fists, well, that could happen. I'm going to try and talk and play at the same time here. Used to play or talking and calling the match at the same time. It's different having a conversation, though. So anyway, my thought, pretty simply, is that when you look at the way things used to be, because you had that ability to have yourself suspend disbelief, and now that's gone, I feel like you have to work twice as hard to make it believable. So look at Brock Lesnar as a case study right there. What Brock Lesnar does is he adds some sense of reality. Now, we still know it's predetermined, and I love what Paul Heyman did when Lesnar broke the streak, where he came out and said, what if he wasn't supposed to win? What if he just said, screw this, I'm going to make sure I beat him? And what's he going to do? You know, if I drop this 50-something-year-old on his head, I'm going to pin him. The referee has to go through with the pinfall, because that's kind of what wrestling is discussed, that in the event that somebody doesn't kick out, you got to go for the pin. Otherwise, we really lose all a semblance of... I mean, look, you can't say reality. We know it's not real. But if he would have gone and done it on his own, what are you going to do? Now, you're not going to fire him, because now he's the most talked about guy. He's your number one guy. He just broke the streak. You certainly can't suspend him or fire him. But we all know that The Undertaker knew he was losing that match going in. However, he paints a picture that made it somewhat feasible. Then you look at his matches. Well, somebody's going to bleed in all those matches, and it's legit. He makes them bleed. No two ways about it. There's no razor blades being used. John Cena got busted open. Triple H got busted open. Randy Orton got busted open. And they're just willing to take a little bit of a beating. You look at what happened with Goldberg and Lesnar. They sold it as an MMA-style match. They did a good job. Even Michael Cole did a decent job, and he sucks generally, in my opinion. My least favorite broadcaster probably... Well, I would say Mike Adamle probably has the upper hand on him, but not by that much. I really just don't care for Michael Cole and never have. But getting off topic, I would say that when you look at what the internet's done, the dirt sheets have done, remove any possible thought that some of this is legit, or a couple of these guys maybe don't, you know, we know there are guys that work stiff. Let's be honest. Vader, notorious for being one of the stiffest workers. Greg the Hammer Valentine. These are guys that everyone knew worked stiff. You look at some of the best feuds, though, back in the day. My all-time favorite feud, still to this day, Greg Valentine, Tito Santana. I don't think anything touches that. These are two guys that made it look real. And yeah, he's running in on a 1970s match. Okay. As you can tell, I'm really not focusing on this match very much. A Polish hammer. Will it be enough? 2, 3. That's it. And there's your winner, Ivan Panuski. All right, we're going to go on to one more match here, and I'll finish up my rant. while I'm doing that, in case you didn't notice the bottom trailer there, decided to go ahead and it's one of these things I've avoided up till now, but opened up a Twitter account. So this, what I will start doing in the very near future is sending out on Twitter an advance notice of when we're going to do live broadcasts, or for that matter, just be posting videos in general so that you have a heads up. And I'm thinking I might even do something a little special just for people that are on the Twitter account. I haven't figured out what that looks like yet, but I'm working on a couple of things. And if that takes off, we'll stick with it. Let's see how that goes over right now. Alright, we're going to do one more match here, finish up what we was talking about. Let's go tag team on this one. Hold on. And this time I got to remind myself to not put myself into the match. Boom. Alright. Let's go here. I don't know if I have them set up as a tag team in the open division here. Sika. Probably don't. That's one of the things about this game that just doesn't make sense to me. Why can't we just make the tag teams once, and then once you start going into whatever, universe mode you want, if it's already a team, it brings it in as a team, and then if you want to split it up, you can. But in the meantime, it would be nice if you wouldn't have to redo, because you don't just put them together as a team again. Now you gotta redo the entrance, you gotta redo the victory scenes, you have to I mean, it's a time-consuming pain in the ass, and it's been like that for a while, which sucks. I just wish to God, it's like when you do it in the main menu, like here, set them up as a team, then it should have an option. Do you want to keep them as a team in universe mode? How hard can that possibly be? I don't know. I'm not a programmer, so it just seems like tougher things have been accomplished. What am I doing? Man, I'm going crazy. Alright, let's go with the other chunks on this one. And oops. I don't even know what his second attire looks like. Well, I guess we'll find out. And we'll put them at Madison Square Garden, I think. There's a reason for this insanity. And in case I didn't mention it, the Twitter account is at Invader Nation, sharing the one N in the middle. I don't know if Twitter is cap sensitive. Again, I'm all new to that, but it's all lowercase with the exception of the N in the middle. I've only joined a couple of Twitter feeds for the moment just to see what it's all about. And I'm sure it's got something to offer, but... And then, of course, also, if you're not already a member of the Humanoid Nation on the PlayStation Network community, join us. Got a lot of great content over there by old school wrestling fans. Alright, while this loads up, let's get back to the subject matter at hand. Has tech killed wrestling? And again, I say yes. Between the internet, the rag sheets, and all that other stuff. So I was watching this match that we're actually going to be seeing here on YouTube last night, killing some time at work. And one of the things that I'm watching it back and I'm thinking to myself, God, yeah, you remember when they used to sell shit like that? So the end of this match, if you watch it on YouTube, spoiler alert, is the Samoans win over the tag team champions, which were Putski and Santana at the time, by a countout. And I forget which of the Samoans takes Tito Santana, and this is a move we see today all the time. Puts him up in what looks like it's going to be an atomic knee drop, but instead brings him down across the top rope, crotching him. Santana hits that rope, rolls right out to the floor, bounces off the apron, hits the floor. He is in pain, man. He is just all curled up, fetal position, squeezing his thighs together, holding his balls. He is selling this son of a bitch to the hilt, to the point where even now I'm watching it going, damn, is he really hurt or what? This is what they do. Nowadays, You crotch a guy, he's down for about, what, 10 seconds. They pull him up by the hair. He gets back up, starts hitting moves. Come on, man. This is a friggin' joke what they do nowadays. But they made it so believable back then. That was the whole key. They sold stuff. And when you see Santana down on the ground, even today, sorry, wrong button. Even when you see it today, it just looks real. The same way Brock Lesnar tries to make his matches look legit, they all did that back in that time. So I think the technology, I guess everybody has the same theme song. Might want to work on that. We'll see. Let's see what Tito comes out to. All right, it's not steel. Okay. So that's one of my original creations right there. Him and Putski. So when you think back on how tech has interfered with, and that's really the way I look at it, it's interfered with wrestling. Think back to the Montreal Screwjob as an example there. There was an element of doubt, at least in my mind. We all knew Bret Hart was leaving. There was no secret there. I did think, watching the pay-per-view, I thought that was all a work. That he wanted to save face on the way out, understandable. They're not going to let you walk out with the belt, of course not. And it seemed believable enough that he would agree to being screwed out of the belt. This way, he saves a little bit of face that he didn't lose clean. They keep their belt. Then all of a sudden, you got all these rag sheets talking about what went on behind the scenes. Of course, Vince comes out with the black eye the next day, and even then, part of me was thinking, that's a bad makeup job. Because there really wasn't much swelling, if you remember. It was kind of had the little bruising going on there. But I would think that Bret Hart hitting him with a cold cock punch would probably shut the eye a bit up. Didn't seem to me like it was all that swollen. So I still had a shadow of a doubt. But then here come the dirt sheets. Here come the Dave Metzlers of the world, all giving you the reality of behind the scene. And granted, that was great drama anyway, because they played that shit out for months. And, of course, we all know that launched the Attitude Era. I just wonder how much better it would have played if all we knew was what was on screen. If you remember back when John Stossel did the 2020 interview backstage at Madison Square Garden that got him slapped around by Dr. D. David Schultz, and if you've never seen that, you need to. It's on YouTube a number of times. Just do Dr. D. David Schultz 2020 and it'll pop up. That was one of the earliest times that I can remember, and it was long before the internet, where, what the hell's he doing? Oh, for a minute there, I thought Zika was biting the back of his leg. That was one of the first times that we as fans got a real look behind the scenes. And I remember about that whole, if you've ever seen the entire interview, not just the David Schultz part, which of course everybody's seen that, there was a moment where he says, while we were backstage, Vince McMahon, the promoter, had said to a couple of the guys, because of course he doesn't know any of their names, he's not a wrestling fan, says to a couple of the guys, hey, we're running long, we need you to have a quick match. And that was the night that Barry Windham set the record at that time in Madison Square Garden, if not the WWF, by beating Mr. Fuji in like 26 seconds. Didn't even take off his ring jacket. Just went out there, walloped him, got him in the corner, hit him with the bulldog, it was over. And having seen the behind-the-scenes part, now I remember having watched that Madison Square Garden show, and I remember that match. But then seeing behind the scenes and how it all came to light, it's like it started to ruin it. And of course they were also showing, I think it was a Slaughter Sheik match at the time, and showing how they were pulling punches and how kicks were, you know, from a close-up angle that they were, for whatever reason, given access to. you could then see that they were missing a lot. And in some cases, a lot more than we ever thought. Which is why guys, again, like Santana and Valentine made it believable. Those guys worked stiff, and they sold it. I still say one of the best matches in WrestleMania history was the first one ever. Tito Santana against Executioner Playboy Buddy Rhodes. We all know that's who it is. It was a phenomenal match. It was great, and it came across real. Santana's punches looked stiff as shit. That's why he's always been one of my favorites, because you could believe what he was doing was happening. And even when you look at his flying forearm, sold it. But again, once technology got out there, once you have John Stossel in the locker room having access to stuff, once you have their camera crew for 2020, ABC over there, ringside, to show you that punches are missing and kicks are missing, it just started to lose the edge. So that's why I say, personally, for me, technology really was the beginning of the end for wrestling. While we always had this doubt in our mind that we knew it couldn't all be real because people would be dead. But like right there, that headbutt, that could be legit. Matter of fact, we had a local wrestling promotion. I don't even remember the name of it at this point. It was such a rinky-dink. And there was this one guy, African-American, who would use the cocoa butt was his big thing. And because it was such a little barnyard wrestling thing, the wrestlers would often just come out and hang out by the concession stands and stuff like that after their match. And I remember him being there, and he would just let fans go up there and headbutt him. And we'd see some guys, hop up in the air and come down and bang heads. And somehow, this guy never bled. I have no idea how that happened, because I watched 10 fans walk up to him, and I don't remember his name at this point in time. I watched at least 10 fans go up there and probably give themselves concussions. And he just took all of it and shook it off, and I'm sure it had to hurt. I mean, but he never winced, he never bled, and they all walked away rubbing their heads, wondering what the hell just happened. The Samoan drop. The guy that I used to go to, it was back in New York, the guy I used to go to watch was actually I don't know about a friend of mine. He was our newspaper boy back in the day. He was about 4 or 5 years older than us, and he was in professional wrestling back in the day, back in the early 80s. Now, for those of you that are really astute wrestling fans, and I don't even know if I want to give away his name right now, because I'm sure I can dig up a picture of him somewhere and post it on the Humanoid Nation, since everybody likes to do jobber trivia. I'm going to save it. So if you want to find out who I'm talking about, you'll have to get us up with us on the Humanoid Nation. I will find a picture of this guy somewhere. What I'll tell you is he did end up wrestling in the WWF for a while as a jobber, and he was a little bit more mainstay on AWA wrestling. Always lost, don't get me wrong, but he was in there with Sergeant Slaughter. As a matter of fact, he may have been against Slaughter on the first ever AWA on ESPN show, if you remember that, when they first got on ESPN. And that was what got me over to that barnyard wrestling that I was referring to back in New York. But again, these guys back then, they sold it. I remember that same organization, they had a couple of women come out, and the one girl, it was her debut. She'd never been in a ring in front of people before. You could see that she was just not feeling the showmanship part of it. She was supposed to be the face, and her name was Bubblegum something or other, and she would throw bubblegum out to the crowd, but she was intimidated by that a little bit. And her niece, I believe, was there with us ringside, and then she went back in the locker room area to go see her aunt after the show, and then comes back out. So I don't believe this. I was like, what's the matter? She's sitting down there with a girl she just had a fight with, and they're playing cards together. Which was, I guess, my first behind-the-scenes look, so to speak, in wrestling. And that's when we started realizing maybe it's not quite what it seems. So technology blew the door off of that. I mean, if just having this girl go back there and seeing the two opponents now playing cards together, imagine how much more the internet and the dirt sheets have done. So that's my take on it. Technology has, in fact, killed professional wrestling. It's made it almost unwatchable for me. It's almost all fast forward. I rarely stop and watch a match now. I was watching the women for a little while because it was such great stuff, but now it's just Sasha and Charlotte 24/7, and that's old. I've always been amazed at how the WWE can bring people up to the main roster and do absolutely nothing with them. That might be next week's topic. All right, guys. Well, that's it for now. So, again, if you are watching live, and a couple of you have been in and out, I appreciate it. For those of you that are watching this after the fact, go ahead and leave some comments below. Let me think what you think about the effect of technology on professional wrestling. Once again, join us for the PSN community, the Humanoid Nation, and now's your opportunity. Get on board. Twitter.com. Well, go to Twitter at Invasion Nation. All one word, all lowercase if that matters. I don't know. Capital N in the middle of there, just like it is on the bottom of the scroll. And I will start in the very near future sending out messages on Twitter to let you know when we're doing the live broadcasts and things like that. And as I said earlier, I'm going to try and figure out something special to do just for Twitter followers. All right, guys, that's it for this time around. Thank you once again for joining us. Until next time, we'll see you ringside.